Hey there! Cheers. What's up, friends and true believers? My name is Chris. I am the owner of Machete Comics here in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. Some people pronounce it that way, Canada. I've heard that. Canada. I lived in New Jersey for a while, in Jersey.
Isn't that from that heritage thing?
Canada? Canada?
Because that's what the natives used to call it. Was Canada.
Oh, okay, Canada. Okay, then. Okay, I'm sorry. Don't throw me hate mail. I did not know that. I will respect that.
It's
Cool, Canada.
village.
Really? Canada. Okay.
Yeah,
Good to know.
Commercials.
Good to know. Yeah, you got to understand this stuff. So, hey, how's it going? It's January 30th?
Yes.
30th, 2023. Holy cow. I had to throw the year out there. So, I was just doing some promo here earlier today, so I might as well pump it out here. Look at that. Not a beaut. Isn't that a beaut? That is Skeletron number 1 from Machete Comics. We have the artwork, and it's pretty rad. So, this is the reprint of it. We sold out of the original one. You know what that means? That means a lot of people bought it, my friend. So that's cool. If you did buy issue 1, the first one, thank you very much. We have 100 issues available of this. Okay, and they go $8 each. Or as I'll show you in a minute here, you can get. I'll show you in a minute. You can get 3 issues for $20. I just want to show you some of the artwork in the back. There's one picture I'm specifically. Oh, I like this one. I thought this one turned out. Look at that. My wife did the background on that. Who's producing the show tonight? Decent.
Oh.
Decent. So there's issue 1. We have issue 2. These are first printings of issue 2 and first printings of issue 3. Yeah, and the so I like to put my friends in the comic book. So this is a right-wing beer company called Fobert Beer. What do we? Because you have the right to bear arms and drink good beer, right? There you go. So he will come into play later. The beer guy there, Fobert Beer. He will come into play later. But this is the first 3 copies of Skeletron, and it is set right here in Kingston, where I live in, where I prevail in Kingston. Well, right now we have tons of snow. You guys got tons of snow? There we are. I don't know. Got lots of snow here. Tonight we were talking about The Walking Dead. All right. Yes, The Walking Dead. So I have been watching The Walking Dead since it first came out, and before that I was reading the comic book before the show came out. Big fan. I love Image Comics to begin with, which is where The Walking Dead is from. It's not from Marvel Comics. It's funny how a lot of people think that Walking Dead, they just assume that Walking Dead is a Marvel comic property, but it's not. It's an Image comic property. Which, now the thing with Image Comics that makes them different from Marvel and DC and all that is they let the creators own their comic. So Kirkman went to Image, which is funny because he wanted to work for Image. He didn't really want to work for Marvel. He'd rather work for the Todd father, Todd McFarlane, who is one of my idols as well. So you take your title or your idea to Image Comics and they let you own it. Of course, we know what Marvel does with things, especially nowadays. They bring Bill and Bob in there and say, well, I like this idea. We're going to cut this up, put this in here, and, and give it long hair. But anyway, that's Walking Dead came out as a very independent comic at first. Of course, being black and white is one thing nowadays with the comic book. My comic is black and white. I love the black and white with the gray shades. And what it also does is it gives it to me as an old school feel. Now you'll notice with my book, it's got a real throwback feel. So that's the one thing about my comic and a lot of my work also that you may dig is if you like the newer stuff that's really computer generated. If I probably looked, I could find some, but that's cool because I still buy Amazing Spider-Man and such. I can't stop buying Amazing Spider-Man. I've been buying that all my life. But if you like the stuff that's not digital enhanced, a little more old school, I'm there for you. So we're going to talk about The Walking Dead. Sorry, got a little distracted there. Wow. Look at this. This is great. So look at the difference. There's the trade paperback cover, obviously bottom, and there is a shot, a clip from the TV show above. You can see the similarities. There is so many similarities between the show and the book, but there's also some big differences. So what we're going to dive into first, I believe, is some differences between the comic book and the TV show, right?
Yes.
Awesomeness. Now let me just get things going over here so I can see if anybody wants to chat. Anybody wants to talk to me about Walking Dead, that's great. So the first thing we're going to do, and I think my producer was just going to give me, I'm going to wing this one, but she's just going to give me some characters and I'm going to tell you what the difference was between the comic book and the movie. I don't think she can still. Well, these are big ones too. We were gonna do like a top 10 or 10, but there's just too many. So she's gonna throw a couple. We're gonna do characters. She's gonna throw a character at me. I'm gonna tell you the differences between the comic book, between TV show. Okay, what do you got?
Oh, this is gonna be an easy one.
Okay. Oh, Daryl. Okay, so but it's very important because a lot of people don't know this either. Daryl is not in the comic book. Daryl is only in the TV show. Now, here's something that I found pretty crazy. When the popularity of the Walking Dead comic book was dying down so much, I'm surprised that they didn't draw Daryl in there and finally bring him into the comic book universe. That would have shot the comic book through the roof. Not sure. I guess maybe he was trying to stay indie. Kirkman was stay indie to the book and stay true to that and not bring Daryl in. But man, that would have made the book skyrocket. But Daryl is not in the comic book at all. Did you know that? I don't know. Most people should, I would think. But yeah. Who else we got? Oh, Carol. Okay. Wow. The difference between Carol and the comic book and the live action. Okay. So Carol in the comic book there, obviously on the left, was started off very timid, like the character on the TV show, but she didn't get stronger. She got crazy. She actually let the dead eat her at the jail. So she only lasted in the comic book until the jail. And she was dating, I believe it was Tyrese she was seeing at the time. Yes, she was seeing Tyrese. Michonne shows up, and Tyrese just starts sleeping with Michonne in the comic book. So Carol sees this and feels unloved and goes out to the walkers and says, you'll love me.
First she goes to Lori and Rick.
Oh, first she goes...
says, can I have a relationship with you guys?
Oh, right. First she goes to Lori. So first Carol goes to Lori and Rick and says, hey, can we have a threesome? Can I get in on you guys? And like, oh, you're crazy. Get out. And then she goes to the walkers and says, hey, you guys will still take me, won't you? And of course they take Carol in, but they eat her.
Yes.
In the TV show, she's a beast. Oh my gosh. She just, she's very inspirational for just a hero. She's badass. Everybody knows Carol's badass. She does so many things in the TV show. I can't. Wow, like there's so many things to list off. Her saving the whole group after being banned from the group from Terminus. Badass Carol. She takes care of stuff, man. We'll probably talk a little bit more about her later. So yeah, the difference in the comic book and her is tenfold. It's huge. They're like night and day. And she's not alive. She doesn't make it very far. She makes it to the jail. Prison. No, she makes it to the jail, and that's as far as she goes. And of course, Daryl isn't even in the comic book, but he's still alive in the TV show, or at least made it up to the end. All right, who do we got next? Dun, dun. Oh, the governor. Man, look at this dude. What? Well, they're right there. You can see he's missing an arm. Holy smokes, right? And his hair's a lot longer in the comic book version on the right. He's wow, what a great character. Now this was fairly close, I thought. Other than like some differences in appearance. Is that reversed, or does he really have the patch on the opposite side than the one in the comic book? I don't know.
No, it's the words are.
That's it. No, I meant the other one.
Him.
The live one. No, because his name's right. Is he right-handed? So I don't know. Anyway, that's interesting if they just switched the patch to the other side, because they would have did that on purpose. So you can see the difference. You can see the differences. He doesn't wear armor. He's more of a casual dude there. But he's a little sicker in the comic book. As much of a douche as you think the governor is in the TV show, he's even cringier in the comic book. The comic book can get away with a little more things, right? Michonne went through hell with this dude. In the TV show, Michonne went through hell with him. But in the comic book, she went through, wow. I can't even talk about what the governor put Michonne through in the comic book. Boy, and on top of that, he cut Rick's hand off in the comic book as well. Rick, it's just a bonus here, is Rick doesn't have a hand after he runs into the governor, because the governor chops his hand off. So Rick loses his hand. Here we see the governor's missing his whole arm there, right? Which is, woo, that's a whole other part that comes up. But the comparison is fairly close. And he does hang on to just barely hanging off life, and they leave him, and then he comes back. And they shouldn't have let him come back.
A relationship with Andrea in the comic books.
No, there's no relationship with Andrea in the comic books. That's fathomed in there. Andrea's another one who's way different. Who do we got next?
Let's see
here.
Gatorade
Gatorade is thirsty. Who do we got? Oh, and speaking of which, Andrea. Okay, now they really dropped the ball on this one, I think. Andrea on the right in the comic book was a badass, man. She was the sniper. In the TV show, that I believe they try and make what was the girl into the sniper there? She's a beautiful lady.
Sasha.
Yeah, Sasha. They tried to make Sasha into the sniper, but they killed her off. In the comic book, it was Andrea, and she was kick ass at it, and her and Rick hooked up, not Michonne. So Andrea made it throughout the show. She wasn't as like the TV show one was. You disliked her because she was pretty whiny and she seemed a little sneaky, you know. In the comic book, it was the opposite. She was kind of like more like Michonne, more like Daryl, or sorry, more like Rick's, you know, Rick's wife. And it for some reason, I think after seeing this Andrea and Rick in the comic book, it made it hard for me to have Michonne and Rick hook up as a couple on the TV show, which still I don't know, it just didn't seem right for some reason. Just as a couple, they just seemed like they wouldn't get together romantically, from this dude's opinion. With Andrea in the comic book, the way it went together was pretty smooth, and there were some scenes where her sniping ability matches Rick's leadership. So it's the kind of thing like if you want somebody shot from way, way, way away, you want to get Andrea in there. If you want somebody to lead the crew into fighting Negan's group, you want Rick. So they were kind of up on the same level there. I guess Michonne is, but she's still more of just like the tough person, whereas Andrea was the sharpshooter, and it worked well together, I thought, as a story. I still like Michonne and Rick together. I guess it just seems a little weird. I don't have a problem with it. Just doesn't seem like the right move to me. Like killing off Carl. Not the right move at all. Not the right move at all. Anyway, because what do we got next? Or well, yeah. And another, what do we got time-wise here? Yeah, we're doing good. Oh, wow. So Shane-O, huh? Yeah, man, Shane. What a great character Shane was, too. Watching back, if you go back and watch the earlier one, Shane is just such a rad character. And of course, he's the Punisher now. The John what's his name? John Berthrall, something like that. John He is the Punisher now as well, or he was. Hopefully they bring him back as the Punisher. Now, he did a great job of playing Shane. And Shane is also kind of the opposite to Rick, just in the fact that he's going to shoot first and ask questions later. He's really adapting quickly to the apocalypse. Now, the difference between him and the comic book, man, that was pretty close. That was a good one. I thought that one was pretty close to what went on.
Well, no, because he didn't make it to.
No, but I thought character-wise, the way his character-wise, not the way he went out. We'll talk about how Shane died in a second here. But I thought character-wise, the way Shane acted in the comic book as the way he acted in the TV show was pretty similar. I thought, if you look at the picture there, drawn fairly similar. Now, the way that Shane died in the comic book, he died earlier. He died, I would say, he still died at the camp. Pardon me?
First season at the camp.
Yeah, first season at the camp in the comic book. Shane was killed, but he was shot by when he was alive. Was it wait, which was it? So when he was alive, Carl shot him. Yeah. Okay, so Carl shot him in the comic book, and Carl kills him. And wow, he says it's not the same as shooting a walker. I know it's not. I know it's not Carl. So that's the difference there. But he lives a lot longer in the TV show, which was cool. That worked for me. Beep beep. What was that beep? Something beep. There's John in there. Great. Okay. So and then so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna finish up with Shane. We're gonna jump into a little bit of Bigfoot talk here.
Oh, you don't want to do it.
And then we're gonna come back. We're gonna do the other ones. We might as well we'll get John in here right away, so we can. I know he's a busy dude, and we're gonna continue on our conversation. If you saw last week's, we had a professional in here, a professional angler and hunter. There he is. Hey, John, how's it going, buddy? You brought him in. Hey.
What's up, Chris? How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. I'm doing well. It's good to see you. How are you?
Man, I been super busy. I know you've been trying. I know Brent's been trying to get me on the show, and thankfully my schedule actually kind of opened up this week, and it's been awesome work-wise for me, doing a bunch of stuff, touring, and then obviously I know a lot of my followers are excited for the kind of like the rebranding of the Blundell Network into the Crier Network. So super exciting times.
Yeah, I'm stoked. It's great to have you, my friend. It's great to have you. It's so much snow here where I'm at right now. It's ridiculous.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in Kingston, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And we are getting the snow. It's like when I was a kid again, actually. Like, you know what I mean? I was just discussing with one of my students, too. I teach online. And it was before Christmas. And I said, man, when I was your age, we used to get tons of snow. And then it just seemed from that moment, I quoted that. We've been getting snow, so it's like
we're supposed to get. It's supposed to be really cold this weekend here. Like they're saying, like -42 degrees.
Wow.
Fahrenheit, which that would break all records here in Massachusetts. So it's
Holy smokes, man.
super crazy.
Stay warm, my friend. Stay warm. Okay, so it's good to have you on the show. We are talking Bigfoot.
Sure this.
That's not one that we're examining. That's just our intro there, my friend. So
I was
last
gonna
week,
s- As I say, that's pretty interesting right there. That's good. That's probably the best footage I would have seen yet.
right in the middle, right in the center of the camera. Last week we had. So I've just started. I talked about Bob Lazar. I talked about Bigfoot a bit. When I talked about Bigfoot last week, I had on a gentleman who's the producer of Angler and Hunter Canada, and he basically lives in the woods. And he hadn't seen a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or anything, but we were talking about just how quiet the forest gets, things he's heard, because he hasn't seen anything either. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is I have seen UFOs. I've seen JFK back into the left. I've never seen a Bigfoot, or in my opinion, some footage that was like, wow, that's Bigfoot. So what comes to mind when you first think of Bigfoot, man?
I think for me, growing up, like I remember getting the books and going to the library as a kid, and like the Patterson Gimlin stuff for me was like the iconic Bigfoot strutting through the that big log in front of him through the woods. Those two guys on horseback, and I think that's always been the kind of where you put stuff in terms of actual footage, whether it's real or not. That's what everything's kind of compared to. And a lot of this, it's crazy. Like you would think with the technology is today, with our phones and cameras, none of the footage just ever comes off. It's always shaky or blurry. And that was, if it is a hoax, and part of me wishes it. I just love the fact that that's out there. That's kind of like what we all gear ourselves towards.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for me, I think that right there is probably what I look to in terms of okay, maybe there's something out here. Because even the skeptics can't outright say no, this isn't real, or this. And that's what I love about the intrigue of Bigfoot. That of all the stuff we've done, we still can't say yes or no, and I think there's something really cool about that.
Do you want to take a look at that clip that you're talking about? Because that's the first thing I think of is one where he's like,
Yeah.
and they parried it. Let's take a look at that clip. I think, Lonnie, do you have that clip handy? Yeah, here we go. That's the first thing I think of.
And there's no sound.
That's okay. There's no sound, but they've exemplified the image a bit so you could see it a bit, I guess, a bit better. But yeah, that's it there, right? Wow.
Yeah, it's like I think one of them just passed away. I don't know if it's Patterson or Giblin. One of them's still alive, I believe. One passed away, and for them, a lot of times when you have these hoax type things, whether a lot of the UFOs, they on their dying breath, they're like, "Oh, it was fake. It was a lie. It was real."
Right.
But if it is a hoax, they would take it to their grave, obviously. But the fact that we're still talking about it and it's still the number one resource in terms of what it could possibly be in its natural habitat is just so fascinating to me. And so from there, it's funny. The last time I was hiking out in the Washington area on a day off with the Shinedown guys, they're big. Every time we go hiking, we always talk about the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, all the stuff we'd love to see. And we got talking about and started researching. I think it was 1980 or 82, the Mount St. Helens eruption,
right,
where there was these instances and cases, and I believe it was a U.S. Air Force guy or a National Guard type guy that reported on like these Bigfoots being rescued from the volcano eruption, the forest fire, then being covered in like these blankets and these tents, and like this guy references like this pile of what looked like humanoids or big animals. And people are like, well, it was a bear. It's all this stuff. It's a moose. Well, no, he goes, the way he described it was like these big, burly, like upright creatures that were stacked in a pile in like this grieving mother type Bigfoot thing. And I was just kind of like blown away where it's, and the NPR, I can't think of the host of the show, but he always has his guests on. And one of the guests was this guy. And if you research that Mount St. Helens stuff, it's super fascinating because obviously there's people out there with the hearsay it's not real. Like this one guy who started a hoax admitted to it. But then you look at some of the stuff and it's like, well, hold on a second. If we were supposed to believe that these military guys and people that see UFOs and we can not question them really per se, why can't we do the same for Bigfoot?
right?
And I do suggest people go look into that Mount St. Helens thing because it's super fascinating, and it makes you wonder when stuff like that happens, or you look at the current deforestation across the globe, or in these climates where that stuff is happening with timber. Why haven't we seen these yet? Like, it just, I don't know. Like, it's just, the science is there, the science isn't there. I'm just so stuck in between where I want to believe this is real, but I also don't want to discredit someone who may have seen something that I didn't see. And the whole thing is just so fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see a Bigfoot. I have a small forest in my backyard, and I was just taking that second look at night, see if I see anything out there. Just, you know what I mean? It's always fun to think that there could be a great big friendly creature living in the forest in there.
The other thing too, it's with for the years of the pandemic, at least I spent more time in the woods, whether it's hiking, camping, like doing stuff just away from people, right?
Right.
But with all that influx of people from the cities going out to the wilderness to isolate and get away from the pandemic, you would think there would be a lot more or better footage or pictures or video. And I was just shocked that maybe the Bigfoot is just going further into the forests because they're still identifying tribes of people in some of these countries near the Amazon and Africa and stuff where you're just kind of like, they had no idea other humans existed.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's a chance these things are getting further pushed back. But with the influx of buildings going up and trees being cut down, it's like eventually, if these do truly exist, they're going to have to show up.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
oh, definitely.
And the biggest question I've always had, and so I just love talking about this stuff, is when these things die, where do their bodies go? Do they take their bodies with them? Because when you see a dead deer or a bear, no other animal, I don't think, hides their bodies of the deceased.
Right.
Or at least where you can't find their bones, or it's just weird. Like, don't you think there'd be something other than a footprint? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. Maybe they're just super good at hiding.
Yeah, it makes you wonder too if they actually, because I thought about this too. Do they actually have ceremonies for their dead, and they hide them away so that people can't find them because it's sacred to them? Like,
right, like it's like you look at the Vikings, they would put their bodies on the pyres and light them on fire, and there's a huge ceremony. Maybe they're so well adapted or such an extension of us as humans that they have their own. I mean, it's just, you would think. With especially there's a lot of like crap shows out there with killing Bigfoot, and I know some of the guys on those shows, and I've had guests on my podcast like Ken Gearhart and Lyle Blackburn and Dave Spinks that they spend their lives doing this stuff. But even there, they have to look at it from an analytical, scientific approach to if this is possible, this is what would have to happen, and vice versa, as opposed to outright saying, "Oh, it exists" or "It doesn't exist." And so I try to look at that stuff when I see footage or. I think for me now, some of the eerie stuff is like the vocal recordings and stuff, like the wailing or the crying. It's like, well, what animal is that? Because some of them are just, if I heard that in the woods, I would be running out of there so quick.
Yeah, that was one also thing. This was I'm glad you brought that up because that was a point that I brought up with my hunter guy because he hunts big bear, right? And that was one thing he was mentioning because I put some sounds on, and one of them was somebody actually ripped off a pterodactyl for this one YouTube video. It was like a guy was picking mushrooms or something, and they disproved it on the History Channel. What was I talking about there? But Dent. So he what was the point there?
The sounds.
Oh, the sounds. Yeah. So he it was when there was no sound at all that would throw him. Like when he was in the forest and there was like nothing.
Yeah, it's almost like sometimes when you see that, like the alpha predator, if another animal knows there's a bigger animal or alpha predator out there, it will go like quiet. Yes. Like they know something else is bigger out there than them, and it's like, well, we don't want to. It's man, for those hunter people, it just the ones that do it for their life and they're in the woods the whole time. It's like I want to like it's always these hunters. I don't mean to knock people that release these videos or like these crazy small town stories, but they always look like people that look like just came off Craigslist. Like they don't look like, and it comes. I don't mean to come off as pompous, but not to discredit those people, but where it's always the same set of people that always say they see Bigfoot or get this footage, right?
Right.
And people are like, well, how come it's always blurry? Well. You don't go into the woods on a hike expecting to see Bigfoot. And I think maybe the people that maybe do capture it have that reaction where it's like, oh, holy crap, like this, I don't know what's going on here. And so maybe that's a true reaction. And then the other thing too, I know you talk about Bob Lazar and Greer, like all this UFO stuff, and like with Area 51, there's this central location where everything UFO related is happening. Well, how come that isn't? Or Loch Ness Monster has the Loch Ness Lake where everyone travels around the world to go there.
Yes.
There's nothing central. There's not like a central hub or location for like the Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Yeti. Is like I don't. It's kind of weird. Like, what is it? Is there not like a black book on the Bigfoot? That's which is why I kind of go to that Mount St. Helens stuff and this. I can't think of this Air Force guy's name, but the testimony is so surreal, and he's still never taken it back, and it's just he's like I think he's like a general or something crazy.
Wow!
But it was just blown away that this type of stuff possibly could be happening, and the government is like UFOs trying to protect us from knowing what could be out there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just so
I
fascinating.
that was the other thing I was forgetting. There's so many things I'm keeping in my mind to mention and ask you. Was my friend mentioned the bears when they yell when they're angry or when they're dying. A lot of them sound kind of like a bear, they'll say, but not exactly like a bear. So it's not that they like you were saying, they can't pinpoint. Well, it kind of sounds like a bear, but they're never like, hey, that's a bear dying. Or that's a bear. That's defending her cubs. That's what that sound is. They can never defensively. And it was the silences on the other one as well. But there's a gentleman too that's suing the government. I think it's in BC because he says they're holding Bigfoot footage. You want to check that out?
Yeah, I do.
One's going to hook it up here. Here he is. Let's check this out. Can we hear this or no? Yeah, we can. Okay, great. Yeah, I found this interesting. I just discovered this. Oh, we can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
No.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second.
Don't know if we're allowed to hear it. Oh, no.
Oops.
No,
Okay.
He's got some pictures in there. He says the government's taking these pictures and footage from him and not allowing him to show it to everyone. Like, just you were discussing about the government shutting him down. Because that was the other thing. I don't know if I've ever heard of Bigfoot being shut down, like somebody going, hey man, I had the best footage in the world. These the guys in the sunglasses and the black suits came up and took it from me. You hear that? You've been hearing that forever. And now the government, as we said, is, oh yeah, well, it's true. We were just,
Well, yeah, it's like you see these unidentified flying objects or UFOs or whatever, and it's like the footage and content that's come out over the last couple of years, the declassification, like clearly there's something out there, right? Mm-hmm. And you can't really refute this stuff. And it's like, well, why is it the same happening for Bigfoot? Are people just that numb to the fact that, oh, there could be a humanoid type creature out there that's a direct ancestor to us or vice versa, and the ape family that obviously we're all kind of come to that chain of life there, but where are we? It's just, I don't know. Like, you would think there'd be more. It's always, anytime someone's like, oh, they might see Bigfoot, whoever is coming from a news source, the source always, or the news agency always mocks it. And I'm there for the laughs all the time, but what if these people are telling the truth? Like, it's so easy to discredit someone, call them crazy, right?
Yeah, like exactly like Bob Lazar, man. Like that he's made to look like he was nuts. He had to prove to his friends, right?
Yeah, it's just like that guy. I mean, that stuff is so fascinating. Anything out there like that, where it's the more people have eyes on something, they try and do all this discredit. Where it's just like, who is the government to say that we are ready or not to hear about UFOs or Bigfoot or this type of stuff? And you look at how much. What small percentage of the ocean has been discovered? You don't think there's a creature out there that could be living in the Mariana Trench or some ocean that we have no idea what's going on? And so you look at these lake systems in Loch Ness, and it's like clearly there could be something in there. It might not be a dinosaur, but it could be something we don't know yet. And these
Lake Titicaca, they've never been to the bottom of Lake Titicaca, have they? And that has like history, man. Like that's where Viracocha apparently came out of, and everything started. So I'm amazed that they haven't. Like, let's go to the stars. Let's do this. I'm surprised that it hasn't been funded to get to the bottom of Lake Titicaca, because the oceans. You're right about the ocean, man. There's so many places, but that is and it's the elevation. It's the highest elevation in the world, or something like that for the lake.
Yeah, it's literally Mount Everest. Two of Mount Everest could fit into like some of the deepest parts of the ocean, and that for me is just pure insanity. And we've only discovered a fraction of something that covers 70% of the Earth. Yeah. It just. So maybe there is something out there. I mean, I think the sexiness with the Bigfoot is that it could be in our backyard, right? Like everyone has woods. and
Yeah.
everyone has it's just I don't know what that would do to the human aspect. Like, how would society react to, okay, Bigfoot's are real, folks? We've been lying to you for the last how many years? This is what happened in Mount St. Helens. This is what happened. Blah blah blah. I don't know. It's just
It'd be
so
like the movie
fascinating.
Jaws. Remember Jaws, where everybody started
Yeah.
coming out with their shotguns and going, "I shot him! I got him!" And they're pulling out like these weird looking
Yeah.
whatever, right?
I don't,
One other thing that that Brent brought up, I'm just remembering other things that he mentioned. He says that when I was showing some pictures and stuff before we went on, because some of the stuff was the animals look kind of haggard, and some of them were bears that just were getting old, and they stand up, right? Like we were talking about how long they walk for, and some of these pictures is like, oh man, that's just that poor bear, and that's what this guy was saying. We're like, oh man, that's too bad, but it wasn't. He was mangly looking because he was a bear, but. Another one that I saw, Joe, was it was a lady, I can't remember. I watched tons of these, right? And she says that they're mystically hiding in trees, great big trees, and like transporting from tree to tree, and that's another one. Like I see, I love these. I love hearing that.
Yeah, it's like the teleportation stuff seems too far fetched. But
You've heard that as well.
Yes, it's like they could not time hop. They travel via dimensions or stuff like that.
Right.
These little wormholes and stuff. And it's like, man, you had me at the Bigfoot, but the minute they start doing some like Gandalf type time travel stuff, I'm just like, dude, I don't know. It almost takes away from what could really exist.
Yeah,
it's too far fetched.
You jumped the shark, man. You took it too far. You ruined it, right?
Right. I don't know though, man. With everyone going to the woods lately and camping, it's like there's got to be. It would be cool to have like a real government-funded, maybe they have been, expedition to like try to find this stuff and not just do something on Discovery Channel that is all made up and manufactured to create drama. Like like let's just really look for this thing, because if it does exist, they got to find it.
They do, yeah. I look back on like the history of Bigfoot and everything, and like what I found from way back, like most things, it was like, okay, kids, time to go to bed. Here's a story. If you don't listen to your parents and you don't do this, and you go outside, you know what's going to happen? The Bigfoot's going to get you.
There was this guy on TikTok a couple months ago, where he posted this picture of he's driving through this mountainside. Was it in Canada maybe? Where he's looking at this mountain, and he sees like this object walking on top of this thing, like this big, looks massive from the road. Well, it went on TikTok, and a couple days later, it got taken down. And he said it's like this government agencies, people came to his door or reach out to him, hey, you gotta take this down, like don't see this again. A couple days later, he released a video saying, oh, it was fake, it wasn't real, it was something else up there. Well, a couple days after that, he's saying he's been like forced to retract everything, delete footage, and they're after him. And it's like, it's either some elaborate scam or, which obviously in this day and age, I don't really trust much, or maybe there are people that don't want that getting out. But I just don't know what the fear is of realizing that evolution really is still happening, or how we are connected to. It's just, I don't know.
Well, there's reported that there's been monkeys in, I can't remember, it's like Africa or somewhere, and they saw some guys fishing just like with sticks, and then they went back later and there's video footage of these monkeys fishing with sticks.
No, they are.
So they're evolving. Why couldn't something evolve even further and go, like, if they've been around forever, they would know how to hide and where they're going. I'm thinking they would, like you're saying, they just keep pushing to where there's nobody, and where lots of places on Earth that humans have not traveled, right?
Yeah, you look at these guys. I watched on Disney Plus. They have this Hazel Odell. He's like an outdoor guy, nature guy. He does like these crazy hikes over the course of a season through like different countries and stuff. And a lot of the episodes I love is like he sees like the snake or the spider or this type of pig or monkey or bird that hasn't been seen in years, or very rare to see. Mm-hmm. And it's such a small creature that he's able to see it. Well, what if you take the Bigfoot in the middle of this huge forest or the Himalayan mountains or something, where the netherworld, where people aren't even have the chance to explore, and they're doing that. They're doing that same type of thing. Like man, it's just so fascinating. And I want to think that the fact that Patterson and Giblin got the footage of what they saw that day or whatever, how has there not been a new Patterson and Giblin? Like, it's been so many years to get something that clear. And it's really not that clear. I mean, the footage you show where they kind of help bring up the HD and like they cleaned it up a bit helps.
Yeah.
But you would think there would be something on a trail camera, or I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was looking. Did you get that other film to work or no?
Do you want me to try one more time?
Yeah, we're gonna try and put that on one more time, John. This gentleman.
No, that's all good.
Okay.
All right, there he is. Yeah, taking BC government to court over Bigfoot.
Can you hear?
No. No. Can you fast forward to the footage though? Maybe she can find the footage for us.
Is he? And what's the actual like? What's he trying to? That they're covering it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that he's got all this footage and that the government has taken it from him, and so he's actually taken the government to court. Okay, here we go. Here, okay, here's his foot. Here's what he's got. Look at that. Looks like a big Ewok.
It does.
Wow, look at that. I haven't seen this before.
Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Who was the other one from Boba Fett? The Kendall Eshar. What was that guy's name?
Oh.
The evil Ewok from
the chocolate.
Oh, the big
Cadgar. What was that guy's name?
I can't remember. They were calling him Black K.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he is awesome. I was looking at I have his first comic book. Get me. So here's another one here. So the dude says that the government took this from him and he's suing them. I don't know. See,
it's hard to see. I don't know.
So, I mean, if the government's taking this stuff from him, like, I don't, hopefully it will come out of the court of law, right? Like, why would he willingly put himself out there as a lewd bit or crazy guy?
Yeah.
For a couple of likes and shares on Instagram? It doesn't make any sense.
No. Especially like, you got a family, like that's the last thing you're going to do, right?
100%. Like, here's the crazy guy.
Yeah. And
have you watched Troll on Netflix, the Norwegian film?
No.
It's a Norwegian language based. I had to use subtitles, but it's basically these researchers, explorers, something happens to like the plates shift, this huge troll, like the size of Godzilla, comes out of the ground and starts terrorizing all of Norway. And it's set in modern times, but it's steeped in the lore and history of like the Vikings and like the old like history of trolls. And it's so well done. And the reason I loved it is like, yes, that's fantasy. I don't think there's trolls in the middle of Norway that can come out and start killing people. But the idea that the lore and history of Bigfoot, and you go look at artwork from the Aztecs to all this stuff, whether it's UFOs or like there's always this connection with these cool cave paintings or artwork that they had the same type of stuff back then. Wow. Now, maybe their Facebook back then was the cave drawings, right?
Yeah,
where they can kind of write stuff. But it just seems eerie that there's always these throwbacks in books, in poems, in stories that all kind of connect to like this one big, tall creature or this big flying object in the sky. Yeah. And I mean, there is something to it. Like, you're not going to go generations and generations of, I don't know. Like, maybe there's this whole thing's just a lie, a fabrication. But I tend to believe that wherever there's fire, there's going to be some truth coming out there. Wherever there's smoke, there's fire. So
definitely. There's one other thing I wanted to, while I have you here, there's one other thing I want to talk about because I've only done a few shows. And the other thing that I discussed was the moon. And,
the fake moon.
No. I narrowed it down though, right? It was like, so the side of the moon. It's funny how many people don't know that we don't see the one side of the moon.
Well, those are the same people that, don't get me started on that. It's like if you're gonna, you can't talk about this stuff. You don't realize how the solar system is, the Earth, the moon, the sun. I mean, I talked to someone the other day, and there was just like, we were talking about the solar system, or I think they discovered a new moon or a planet in another galaxy or solar system near ours, or another planet that could be sustainable to ours in another galaxy. And they were like, well, why can't we just do this on like Saturn or Neptune? Why would we leave our galaxy? And I was like, do you realize this planet's made of gas? This planet's too hot. This planet's too cold. It's like, do you not realize like what our 9 planets are?
One of them has hail that's like ice,
yes,
right? Or like glass. Sorry, the hail is like glass coming down. Yeah, that's funny. So I thought that because somebody could have a whole civilization on the dark side, because there's that crust that goes down like miles and miles and miles.
Yes.
Somebody could be living under there. Now, I asked all my guests and all these people that were online, but if you had the chance, so we can go back and forth. It takes you 3 days to go up to this new civilization in the moon. Okay, back and forth. It takes 3 days to get up there, 3 days to get back. You've been asked to go up to the moon and start this new civilization. You're the first you'd be the first to do whatever you wanted to do up there. You'd be specialized in it. I draw or I teach or something. You know what I mean? So would you go?
Yeah, I would. I got super jealous of those guys that were going up to the space and stuff with Bezos and all those clowns. But no, I think I would. I mean, there's just something out there. Just like I love the idea of when you dream or you manifest like a goal of yours, it comes to fruition. The idea of always dreaming bigger than yourself. And I think the coolest thing would be, man, like Earth is cool, but you can go to the moon. That's cool. Or maybe go to Mars. And it's like this idea of expanding your horizons and seeing more than what you think you have to see. And,
a new civilization too, right? Like a brand new start. And I was
crazy,
but you'd be amazed. So I loved this question because I think I love to get inside people's heads very, very quietly and mildly. Nothing, not like, you know what I mean? But everybody says no. Basically, no way. And their eyes are like this. No way. I'd be stranded there. It's like, well, it's just right there. And you'd have to wait. We have to wait 3 days for a space. Oh no, I can't wait. It's amazing. And then
I don't need a cell phone. I don't need email. Just
right.
I want my camera, some good hiking boots, and something to make sure I can breathe up there. But I don't. I think people are afraid to leave the safety of their house or their town or their city or their state. I mean, I know some people that want to travel but are afraid of planes, and you can't drive a car to England or
right.
And not to knock those people, but it's like the minute you take that first step, it's like into the unknown. That's where the excitement is.
I was going to say the unknown really tells you a lot about somebody's character, whether they want to join into that or they're like, oh, no, I don't know what that's happening. I don't know where that step's taking me. But that's wild because they could definitely start something on the dark side of the moon because we don't see what goes on there.
It is. The other thing too, when these people go up to space and take these pictures, or these satellites take these pictures of whatever planet we're looking at, is it stupid of me or crazy of me or conspiracy theorist of me to look at that and be like, well, who's to say these 10 people that have access to this technology and pictures are actually showing us what's really up there?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, right? I mean, it's already showed that TikTok and all that crazy technology is spying on us, or our phones are listening to us, and I question that stuff, and I have to look at a picture of some face on Mars or some picture of the moon or an angle from the moon or a space station or a satellite that's be like, oh, this is what it looks like from here. Well, why do I willingly trust that?
Yeah.
And I love like all this stuff. I know we're getting off tangent from Bigfoot, but
no, that's okay. I wanted to get off it just at the end here before I let you go, John. That's why I wanted to
And it's like the whole thing where, remember when Stanley Kubrick was like, they said that he was hired to fake the moon landing, right? And when you look into that stuff, it's so fascinating. The best filmmaker of all time, especially at that time, to get bring in by the government to create something like that. Like obviously the space race was a huge thing, and who gets up there first, who could lay claim to the first country, satellites. And it's still, I think, a huge thing after the Space Force now and other countries and satellites and stuff. But why it's okay to question that stuff, right? Like, I just don't. And to your point, like, we do all this stuff from space. Well, you haven't shown me a picture of, like, I don't know. Like, there's just so much to question there. And not to say I don't believe any of it, but I also think that people that do question that, it's so easy to label them as crazy. I just want to know.
Yeah.
When you get a picture of the Mars rover, and it goes through whatever NASA is doing or whoever's in charge of that rover, there's a handful of people that know what it actually looks like if it doesn't look like that. And those same people are like, oh, this is what it looks like. And it's on the front news, Times newspaper, National Geographic, and we're like, oh, this is what it looks like. What? How, are we sure? Because if you took a picture of a crime scene and show it to 10 people can have 10 different things to say about it.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of mask that UFO stuff and maybe even some of the Bigfoot stuff into. We'll just throw it out there and we'll let people. We'll only release some information that's believable or not. I think that I know it's fun to talk about. It's one of those topics that I just love when you're around like a campfire or you're drinking with your friends at a bar or on a long bus ride. Just talking about this stuff. It's very therapeutic because I want it to all be real. I want giant squids and sea creatures and spaghetti monsters. I want it all.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Yeah. To live in a comic book world, my friend. How cool would that be?
I love it, man. I love what you're doing too. I love
thanks,
the comic book stuff. I know I'm gonna try and get more active on Twitter when it comes to because I know you post a lot of stuff on there. But
I just got a reprint of issue number 1. It sold out, so we got another printing of it. I only got 100 copies of this one, so that's a special one.
The one of the cool things, myself, Barry Kirk, drummer for Shinedown, and Steve Hupkowitz, a monitor engineer, the road for Shinedown. My road case, one drawer is dedicated to graphic comic books. So on days off, we'll go to a local comic book store and pick up a comic book. And our rules are it can't be an established character arc, whether it's Daredevil, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, or Blade. It can't be one of those. So it's got to be a new character that's been created in the last couple of years. And man, we have found some just incredible. I don't know if you're familiar with Excalibur.
Oh yeah.
Oh, just a great series. The Goon. I was blown away by that.
Yeah.
It just the comic book world for me growing up was always just like, here's my uncle and my dad's comics, Superman, First Flash, all the X-Men, all the Avengers, all the classics, right? But as I've got older, I still love that stuff. I still love the movies and TV shows. But the people behind, the artists and the writers behind some of these comic books today, to create, if Hollywood could just take a fraction of these people to create these new worlds and stories, I think arts would be just, I'm just blown away by it. Like, I love the fact that this stuff is actually readily available and out there. It's just awesome. I can't think of a bunch of other ones I have too. Like, we literally went through 30 to 40 of these new books and series in the last like 6 weeks. It's like, so I do it. I open the road case, and so other bands we tour with know we're into this nerd stuff. And one drawer is all Settlers of Catan and Battle World. The other drawer is like all like graphic novels. And it's like this really cool nerd hideout where we just kind of just talk to stuff and catering. And I love more shows like yours where it's just people just unabashedly loving the art of comic books. And
well, they're great. It's such a great way to tell a story, no matter what you're telling. You don't even need words. You just need some scribbles for some stuff. Do you have a comic book that do you remember your very first comic book influence?
I remember the Spider-Man vs. Flash. I just remember it was the big version of it. It was like that really big one, and I still have it, where my uncle gave to me. And it was always like those early DC, Justice League, that type of stuff. Not really. It was more DC than Marvel. And then when I got to like middle school, the Death of Superman with Doomsday.
Right.
My dad, every time that new book would come out, my dad, when he's going to work, coming home from work, he'd bring me the new copy. And at the end of it, I remember that big thick book had it was all the books combined. I was like blown away by that. Oh my God, it's like a real book. Can I do a book report on this?
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older now, I've just fallen in love with the whole process. And I had David Morrill on my podcast, and he's the author of Rambo.
Yeah.
He also wrote and did work with Marvel. And so he did I think it was Long Cold Winter with Spider-Man. And it was like this really cool Captain America one too. I can't think of the name of it, but we're talking about it. And one thing I love about what he did, his approach to it, was that the best page he ever wrote had no words on it.
Nice.
And I love that because he let the character, when Spider-Man first appears in the backdrop of New York City, there's snow everywhere. It's that type of gray drab color. When you see his red and blue come through that one shot, he's like, this is to say that you know everything what's happening right here. This is everything he's thinking, what other people are thinking. And I didn't realize that sometimes like those comic books, the best writing is no words at all. It's just
exactly
the image covers it. and it's just awesome. I think Watchmen did that great too, with a lot of cool imagery, but the simple lines. Like I'm not here to read like paragraphs per se.
Mm-hmm.
The perfect combination of like the artwork and the story when it blended together, it's enthralling. And the one series I always go back and read all the time is Maximum Carnage. For whatever reason, I have all the books. Also, Extinction Agenda.
Mm-hmm.
The X-Men,
The X-Men?
X-Factor one. Yeah. And so those two series, when I go back and read them all the time, I still have all the books and the pages are kind of getting older now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like every time I read them again, it feels like the first time I read them. I think that's the power of like a really good comic, right?
Yeah.
Like the enjoyability of watching the same movie over again. Well, I could read these books over again because I love Maximum Carnage when Firestarter is dropping her flame on him and people are freaking out and saying, no, don't kill him, you're not that. And it's just like, you're just like, holy shit, just kill him. Like, what are you doing? And it's like, you're not that person. You're a hero. You can't kill. It's like, it's just, I don't know, man. Like it's just so fun. Like it's engaging.
Yeah, it is. It is. You familiar with Magneto?
Yeah, oh yeah, hell yeah.
I love that. And the intro to that X-Men movie when he's little, that to me, that is brilliant because I don't know if that's even in a comic book, man. I think that was created for the movie. Like the whole story that's true about Magneto. What they,
well, it makes sense. It's like this guy's evil, vile leader of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Well, he's not really a bad guy.
No, it explains it, and you feel
the same
for him.
goal as Professor X. He's just going about it a different way. Yeah, but you kind of like that's why I love in the comic books when they kind of like swap places and you're like, holy crap, like Magneto's actually the good guy here, Professor X is bad, or they start working together, and obviously their brotherhood together. It's just, I love that you can create a character that you're supposed to hate him, but you sympathize with him and you get where he's coming from.
I love Magneto. They'll show like Xavier living in this mansion, Magneto hiding and working in a little factory trying to support this little girl. Like, wow. And you're like, and you get it. You're cheering for Magneto to kill these people. You're like, dude, he just kill them, get rid of them. You can do it.
Kill the Nazis.
Oh man, he's trying not to, but then he goes out on that Nazi kick and he just starts taking them out like a Tarantino movie.
The other thing too, I love with like when it comes to like stuff like that, like mental health or suicide, like with the Captain America arc or like the Bucky stuff, where it's like PTSD, like these real topics that are prevalent in today's service members. They're able to do it in a way where it's just like it makes you think, right? Or the Tony Stark thing where he's an alcoholic and he's like just a douche, and he's just like, this is a guy that's got an issue and he's a superhero, but he's human, he's faulty, and he's not perfect. And I love that they can humanize these larger than life people. And man, comic books, it's just awesome. Like I don't like, is there a National Comic Book Museum? Like, is that a thing?
Oh yeah. There's one in New York City. It's in New York. Yeah. There's some great stuff in there. Oh geez, man.
And I collect all the figurines too. Like
the old Mego ones?
Yeah, I have all like when KB Toys, like Toy Biz and all that stuff. Like I have a whole room dedicated to Colossus is my favorite Marvel character.
Yeah.
I love the story of Peter and like his upbringing. Yeah. And so I've always just loved him. But yeah, I have all these characters. I have specific lines I like. It's just, I don't know, there's just something fun about it. And like whether you're a kid or adult or like there's no in between. It's for everyone. Yeah,
comic books always come packed with a vibe. I find like, and even it's a nerdy thing that the smell of old comic books. I know it's like a mold smell, or whatever, but there's that smell of the old comic books. And my mom used to take me when I was younger, and she's watching. Hi, Mom. She would go to these flea markets and stuff back in the late 70s, and she would just sit me in front of this little comic area, and she would go and look for stuff, and I'd get my little stack of comics for 10 cents each or whatever, and I still have them because they wrote in pencil inside like 10 cents or whatever, and it's still in there. But man, the memories. As soon as I smell that moldy paper,
well, it's like that. I have that Marvel app, I think, where you can read comic books on the go, which is great if you're traveling and stuff, and you don't have to
totally.
But to your point, I love opening up and getting a paper cut from a comic book or going to the comic book store, just picking it up, and you can smell the ink. Like there's something weird to it. Yeah. Where it's just like I'm just drawn. It's like gasoline for me. That's why I love. I just love that smell of a new book.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. I love it.
Awesome. And like the other thing, the Amazon, the show Invincible.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
I watched the show when it came out in the pandemic, and I went back and started reading the comics, which I never really do that. I'm very familiar with the source material, but like most people in the pandemic, I was watching paint dry, so I was like, I'll just throw this on, and I was blown away again. A lot of, I mean, it's a violent, very adult orientated series, but I just love a new story, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like the family issues at home, and like it's just I just love that stuff is being created. It's fresh, it's new, and I hopefully it never goes away.
It's good when they throw reality into comic books because like the boys. What if Superman wasn't a good guy?
Yeah.
What if the government controlled Superman? Could you imagine? Yep, Garth
Yeah,
Ennis did,
who
and
holds
here it
these
is.
people accountable, right? No, it's like, well, it's Captain America: Civil War too. It's like now you
Man.
display the sides. It's like the people are spoken, the governments don't want you involved because people have died, or it's just and I think it was episode 1 or 2 of Falcon and Winter Soldier, where you realize they weren't getting paid, and like he can't afford to fix his sister's boat, or it's like you kind of just back. It's like this is a guy that fought this Thanos and like fought all these bad guys, and it's like he did it because he was thrust in that position to be a hero and chose to be, but he still has bills to pay. And it's like it was like the most interesting reaction. I was just like, holy crap! Like I've never thought about what these people do for money. Not everyone's Tony Stark or Bruce Wayne.
Right.
It's some of these heroes that are super talented. Like, who's paying for Spider-Man's rent? His pictures? Like, come on. He lives in New York City. He can't afford that. So it's like, I just love little things like that.
Yeah, it's great when they humanize him because it's one thing to think, okay, well, he's Superman, he can do whatever he wants. So if he has to fight a villain, he better be from another planet, really, really powerful. Whereas you don't look like, hey, what if the father's a superhero and the son's a superhero and they don't get along? Whoa, little things like that, and then these characters write the story for themselves. Like Magneto, you know how Magneto is going to react to situations. You throw him in a situation, and his character writes the story. So I love it when comic book writers are really good at that, huh? You can basically just take like these heroes or people they create, throw them in an interesting situation, and it writes itself. I love it.
Well, it's like the thing with Magneto. It's like here's a guy whose power is to control metal. Well, his whole upbringing, he was thrown into an Auschwitz type camp, surrounded by metal bars, and it's like that's what triggered this power. And it's like some of those heroes that come out of like tragedy and devastation. Like, I just love that stuff. And that you're right. That scene where he kind of like bends the gate where he's being pulled away. It's top notch.
Yeah, and you're like, this is our villain. This is the guy that everybody hates and wants to.
Right, we all hate Nazis. We all hate. It's like now we're supposed to. Like, this is the guy that's actually fighting the good guys, though. Like, come on, what's going on?
Right? How awesome is that? Because it's like if you're in the know, you're like, okay, that's Magneto. Holy cow! If this is, can you imagine not knowing the story and being like, who the hell's this little kid? And then later on, finding out he turns into this massive villain, you're like, oh, okay, makes sense. Wow, there you go. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
if you kind of rework that movie into a different order, where you could almost make it look like Magneto's the Brotherhood are actually the good people.
Yes, you could.
Because it's just like you look at these people in today's day and age. We follow leaders and politicians and celebrities, whether right or wrong, and it's like how they broke that up. It's like some people probably sympathize with Magneto.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's my favorite saying is how you doing, Chris? A little more Magneto than Professor X today, but it's all good.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a great dynamic. It's just awesome.
Good storytelling, buddy. Good. So, all right. Well, I got to get off the air here, my friend. I could talk to you about comic books for hours, dude.
Yeah,
hours. It's so good to have you on the show, my friend. I'm gonna keep doing these conspiracy theories and then ending off with some cool comic talk, like I like to do. Started a little serious, and then just ended off with a lot of fun.
No, I love it. It's great. You have a great show, and whenever I'm available, I'd love to jump on. So
awesome! I love it. I want to check out one more time. What was the Bigfoot with the volcanoes? Where was that?
Mount St. Helens. I believe it was 1980, the eruption, and I think it's a U.S. Air Force, National Guard, or Air Force guy that details this. It's like all over Reddit too. And it's like NPR interviewed this guy, and I can't find the link. It's like such a hard link to find. Maybe they scrubbed it, but it's super fascinating. Just research it. Like you can go in there and down these rabbit holes. Just be like, oh, holy shit! Like this could be real.
Nice. Yeah, that's I draw basically all day long. when I feel like working, and I just put. That's what I do. Is I'll start with one conspiracy.
Is there a
theory.
Bigfoot comic book out there?
There's a Sasquatch.
Oh, okay.
So
Is it like a shaman, like Alpha
or
Flight?
Wendigo.
Sasquatch?
Actually, there's a Wendigo or Wendigo, however you pronounce it. So he is from the natives, and it's more of it's a dude, and he does this mystic thing, and he turns into the Wendigo.
Oh, nice.
And he likes to eat women and children. So Wolverine hunts him. He's one of Wolverine's. When Wolverine first appeared, the Hulk was fighting Wendigo, which is a white version.
Oh, yeah.
He's Canada's version of the Sasquatch, right? The Bigfoot.
And then you guys have Alpha Fight. Wasn't there a Sasquatch in that?
Yes, and then I was gonna say, and there's Sasquatch, and he's your classic Bigfoot-looking type guy, and he's another scientist who tried to turn into the Hulk. Was playing with things like that, and it turned him into the Sasquatch.
Alpha Fight is such a criminally underrated comic book run. I mean, that with Puck, North Star. I love
Roar's in there. Yeah, they were. The Wolverine was supposed to lead Alpha Flight, right?
Yeah,
that was his whole backstory,
and
he was
broke
like,
out, right?
Xavier said, "How'd you like to be a free agent, and not work for the government?" And he's like,
Right.
"Sure, man. Let me out of here." And then the Canadian government's like, "Wait a minute, you owe me." So they sent Alpha Flight after him. Did you see the movie Logan?
Yes.
So they were supposed to go meet Alpha Flight there. That's who was in Canada, and that's the way the story was supposed to go. That would have been brilliant. I love that little girl that played Laura there, the little girl Wolverine.
X-23, yeah.
Wow, she was just watching her fight made me smile, man. I was just like,
That's
look at her, she's so cute.
Great movie.
Yeah, and that was leading to Alpha Flight. It's well, who knows what Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are going to do with the Deadpool Wolverine thing. Holy crap!
Yeah, you almost have to think there'll be Alpha Flight. There'll be. It's in good hands, especially because he's such a protector of that brand and character that I think we're in good hands with that. Whereas some of these people that create these or run with these stories or like these established characters, it's like you're just doing it for the money. Which I'm not going to knock you for it, but Reynolds, I mean, this is a guy that made this suit, started releasing this footage before they even had funding or. Yes, I just love that. There's a passion behind it.
Totally, dude. Totally. Yeah, I find a lot of the Marvel movies now, the heartbeat of them's like this. There's no FTW moments in them anymore. You know what I mean? It's like it's safe.
I mean, people knocked Thor: Love and Thunder, and it's not the strongest Marvel movie, but the fact I could still see him hold a lightning bolt, or see Korg on the screen, or Gore the God Butcher. Like, I mean, we've been so privileged to see all these crazy, insane, great movies that one or two for me, I'm like, I'll let it pass. Could have done better, 100%. But I don't know. I think this new Ant-Man stuff, this like Kang the Conqueror, it's gonna be dark, and I like it.
It's gonna be smart too, which is great. I've had a hard time watching the Spider-Man movies, but I've accepted the fact that the Spider-Man movies are made for Chris when he was 12 years old.
Yeah, I think that audience needs to grow. That needs they need their hero they can relate to. The Kang stuff about death and reality and time, and that's just super dark and all themes that we live through each day. And there's just something to that. That's gonna be awesome.
Totally. Yeah, I would love to see Quentin Tarantino or somebody of that caliber take a shot at.
Could you imagine like William Friedkin or like a Stanley Kubrick directing like a
Kubrick's my idol.
Imagine him directing like a Batman movie or something where it's just like holy hell.
I think Kubrick would have been able to do an amazing X-Men movie because he would have got right in there. Like, he's my idol, dude. When I write, I try and put I've watched everything on him. I try and put my mind where Kubrick would be. Like, okay, I'm bored with drawing comics now. What can I do? Ooh, I can put a story inside a story inside a story. Ooh, he's just brilliant, dude. He's brilliant. I would love to see. I think he would do, or a Justice League. Oh boy, I bet you he could do something amazing with that.
Yeah,
or could have.
Like, you wonder if how come Spielberg or even Mel Gibson's such a great visual director and like Apocalypto and like all just amazing. What if he had tackled like something violent? Like, what's a violent character he could tackle, or just bring in some of these directors that have like this insane vision, like you said, that let them. What's a passion project for Tarantino? Well, I want to direct whatever, and then let him do it.
Silver Surfer. That's what he said. If he did anything, it would be Silver Surfer.
You imagine how insane that would be,
dude. Brilliant. That's what I'm saying. I would love to see that, and he would get the respect so that the company Marvel wouldn't be okay. Well, we got to bring Bill and Dave in here and Frank and Bill from this. We got to okay it. Now this is Quentin Tarantino, man. Just do the movie, right?
No, it's like people. I think would be oh well, he doesn't when he writes whether it's the F word or the certain words that scare people.
Yep.
They're not just in there because he can write them. They serve a purpose. That's why I love he turns the F word into something that's memorable and necessary for that scene or that movie. And so, if it's necessary, if he's in his head, because they want him to, or he wants to do like a Star Trek movie. It's like imagine him playing in that playground. It's like it would turn it on its head. It would be insane.
Yeah. So I'd love Kubrick. He had that was the thing about Kubrick, right? Is apparently the rumor goes that he did the moon landing footage, so they gave him carte blanche to do nobody would question his movies.
And that's why he did Barry Lyndon. Yeah. And
with the lighting exactly like it was back in the day. It's a hard movie to watch all the way through because it's not that exciting. But wow, it's cinema, brilliant.
Yeah, the cinematography, that's incredible. It's the other thing, like The Shining for me is like such a great movie, but like all the ties into like the moon landing with like the pictures and like the numbers and stuff. It's just a brilliant.
It's so many movies. It's a million movies inside of one movie. I've researched that he was so bored when he was making movies at this point that he's like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna diss the guy who wrote it. I'm gonna write a movie inside a movie. I'm gonna move things around. Like it was brilliant. It was so well done. But so the other thing, so he had carte blanche until he made his last film, right?
Eyes Wide Shut.
And they cut 30 minutes out of it, and then he died.
Yeah, his death too is super weird. Like he was. It kind of goes into like what we're talking about with the moon landing. Like, he might have been ready to start spilling his guts. Because for someone like that, he doesn't have a journal or a book he was going to write or something.
Wendy, do you know how hard it is to work for blah, blah, blah? Wendy, do you know how hard it is to keep your commitments? Damn.
It's almost like that character, Jack Torrance, was him, and the government was he was the government towards Jack, and the actual government was towards him. It was just like a weird. That movie, it's almost like it was watching like a home video. Like he was Jack Torrance, and the government was making him crazy after everything he did for him.
Yeah, and then there's that whole the MK Ultra thing that you could throw into it. And, like the movie is one huge. I could watch The Shining Christmas morning. It is my favorite movie. Everybody knows.
There's a documentary he did or about The Shining with all this
room 43. That's whatever the number is. I'm terrible with numbers. You're right. That's it. Yeah,
good. So good.
It is. It's Kubrick was so brilliant. So, but yeah, and that's the thing about his last movie. He had carte blanche until that last one, which is strangely, especially now, we're seeing like the stuff with Madonna and all the babies that are being, regenerated for the youth of the elite and all these little ceremonies. Epstein, Epstein killed himself. Sure, he did. Yeah.
Well, that's you go back and watch Eyes Wide Shut. I think people watched it. At the time, it was like, oh, was this and was it rated NC-17 or something crazy? Like they thought it was some like overt sexual film that Kubrick, some old guy, was making. But you go back and look at this stuff. A lot of the stuff that he was hinting at in that, you have seen from Epstein Island, or even Bieber talking about Justin Bieber about some of these people back in the day, like these music industry people, about like these weird ceremonies and crazy stuff that Britney Spears has talked about. It's like he's doing a film right here of these weird ceremonies. And now, obviously, with Tom Cruise, who I love, when you look at the Scientology stuff, like it's such a weird film for him to die after.
It is. And there's so many elements.
It's every film he did is considered a masterpiece, whether acting, cinematography, everything about it is 2001: Space Odyssey, like Clockwork Orange. Like the guy is legendary, and his last film was put out. It was cut up. I think that movie is what killed him. It was too on the nose.
Yeah. It was overshadowed, the release of it too, by having Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise starring.
Because you have great looking people in a real relationship. Yeah. They're huge megastars, and so if you would put like a dirty looking guy, not dirty, but like a Vincent Cassel and like another actress where it's like, but they're just in this world. Yeah, I think it would have been more impactful.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know, man. Some of the scenes in that movie are just with the cinematography and the way they tilt their heads and the lighting.
Yeah.
It's super creepy.
Yeah. Now here's my question. I got a question for you here. Now I've asked this a few people. This so Tom Cruise, huge in Scientology.
Yeah.
Would they let him do this movie if the Scientologists thought that okay, you're messing with people that are kind of maybe above us here? Would the Scientologists have warned Tom and said maybe don't do this movie?
I don't know.
If there was something there, like I
yeah, I think a lot of times if it's so on the nose, they're putting it out there just to people are going to be like, oh, it's too on the nose.
right.
Like, because you would look at all these actresses like Leah Remy, a
Mhm.
couple of these other people have left
Oh, yeah.
Scientology, these other like cults, and
Yep.
then like I'm not whatever. I don't know enough about Scientology to call it a cult
okay.
per se,
No, I
but
think you're right.
when these people leave these entities, the stories they say it's all the same.
Yeah.
Brainwashing and hazing and these weird rituals, and you can't do this, you got to do this, wear this, and your kids have to do this, or maybe there is something to it.
Yeah. See, I found it odd that Tom Cruise would do the movie being like yeah.
If Tom Cruise left Scientology tomorrow,
Yeah.
it would be such a blow to them.
Oh, right.
Like they would lose all. I don't know. I mean, is Travolta still in there? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, there's
Yep.
some people that are still in there.
Yeah.
But if he had left, he brings him such awareness because he doesn't hide the fact he's a Scientologist, and I think that helps him because I mean, all his movies are amazing. I have never really seen a bad Tom Cruise movie.
My mom loves Tom Cruise, dude.
Right,
Like,
and it's like
he
I
can
don't
do
agree.
no wrong.
And I don't agree a lot with his politics, maybe, or like some of the stuff you hear about Scientology. But again, I don't live that life. I'm not here to. I watch Tom Cruise, the actor, not the person. So,
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman's father is a
What?
Satanist.
Nicole Kidman's father is apparently a Satanist.
He was, yeah.
Oh,
He's
he
dead
was.
now.
Oh, right. Yes,
But-
that is true. I've heard that as well. That Nicole
so
Kidman's
it's like
father was.
there's so much symbolism in that Eyes Wide
It
Shut
all
movie
bleeds
that-
down. Yeah.
That'd be a good episode for you. Just talk about that movie.
I know, right? Like, well, I wanted to do a Kubrick episode at some point here. It would just see as you get me started on Kubrick, my friend, and I will talk with you all night because there's just so much. He was brilliant. How often does a guy that smart come along with those movies? Wow.
Well, it's like even his like, how did he die? Was it heart attack or like what was the
heart problems? Heart
Yeah,
problems.
I don't know.
I'm gonna dive into that after I get
what was it? What was in the can? Like what was supposed to come after that? Was there any movie or ideas he had in pre-production or something?
What was he working on? It was that AI movie, wasn't it?
No.
So
No?
he's working on stuff that's so ahead. Like 2001: Space Odyssey was so ahead of the time.
Right.
It looks like it could have came out yesterday.
Yes. Oh.
So everything he touched, whether it's gangs and Clockwork Orange to AI to sex cults to like, it's just so on the nose. It's like this guy knew something.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I love the idea that there's a good chance he could have directed one of the moon landings.
Wow. Yeah, for sure. Especially you see footage where they're. I was thinking this is a funny point. I thought that maybe they got all the way up there and they're like, "Hey, man, where's the camera? Oh, we bought the Kodak. That's not going to work out here. Shit.
Right.
How can we film it? You know what I mean? Like it could be something to see.
And that's actually a very believable. Or they get up there with a real camera, it doesn't work, and now we have to make it look like we show the flag with the wind blowing or the dust or the. It's just I don't know. Like you would. It's just I don't know. I would be curious, even with like the astronauts too, like Bud, like all those guys. There's such a buddy system there where they don't really talk about what everything that people ask them about is like out there, like NASA put out there, but they never openly talk about what really happened.
No,
if that makes sense. Like they're very like guarded. That's what makes me believe there's something out there that they're kind of. I don't know. It's just weird. Like the whole thing is just so weird.
Well, there's so much we could talk about it with when it comes to. See, I love the way somebody like Kubrick would really like to after he likes to poke the bear too, right? You know, he's like
right. He pushes the boundaries.
Yes.
Clockwork Orange, you're like you have this violent rape and the sadistic gang, and it's like, but you also show the human aspect of this mental breakdown and this person collapsing into themselves, and like there's just he's so chaotic, and when he shows people in all his movies have someone breaking down or someone that just dealing with these themes, whether it's isolation, or man, I wish Eyes Wide Shut got the respect it got. Like
Yeah.
I'm such a defender of that film because it's so ahead of its time. Like if you did that movie today, like some of these other movies that are on the nose, or like Lars McTiernan, or who's that one director that does a lot of crazy like the Nympho movies.
Right.
He's he's like the A24, like all those art house horror movies like The Witch, Lamb, Man, like those type of movies that are out there right now.
Yeah.
That's Kubrick's wheelhouse, and he was doing this so ahead of the curve that, yeah, man, Eyes Wide Shut is so good.
Yeah, I'd like to see the footage that got cut from that. I'd be really interested to see.
Yeah,
what
I
that
know
was.
there was stuff where there's a couple of scenes where it's like sex scenes were cut out.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was because it was too graphic and they didn't want the NC-17 rating, which would make sense.
That would
for advertising and like recouping money.
Yeah.
But how do you tell someone like Stanley Kubrick to cut that?
Yeah.
Like he's making his film. And don't you think a director of that level, with the clout he has and the Academy Award nominations and his films, I think 3 or 4 of them are some of the 100 greatest films of all time.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell them it's too on the nose, you can't show that. And then a couple weeks later after the movie comes out, he's dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems weird.
And he was so AI was what he was going to work on next, which is funny because that's where we're heading now, is artificial intelligence. I was loving what Bob Lazar said, that when the aliens come down, they're not sending their actual aliens, they're sending AI down. Do you think they would actually come down to see us? No, they don't. We're rowdy humans. We're like animals to them. They're going to send down AI. They're going to send down these, and that's
holograms. Like
the theory is how they all look. They're all these grays is because they're AI creatures from whoever's visiting us. What a great theory! That blew my mind. Oh, that was amazing. So that's where Kubrick was heading next, was that whole AI theory, which is where we are now. So wow, he had his pulse on things that were really interesting, and his take on it was just incredible, my friend.
Well, it's like how does someone like that get their pulse on something that hasn't existed yet?
I know that, right? Like that's his brain. It's like
if you watch 2001: Space Odyssey, not only is it an iconic film, but then you look at, how do you not question it? God, he might have actually filmed the moon landing. Because it's like, dude, like the lighting and everything. You couldn't do that film today. Like I think it was a couple of years ago, James Cameron, they had like this round table of movie directors, and they're talking about like their idols and people that movies they like, and Kubrick basically, or Cameron came out, he goes, 2000 Space Odyssey, if you did that movie today, he goes, the technology he used and created, only he could have done it. Like it's just like, it's so surreal. How does he get that type of equipment unless he's not funded by the government? Like there's got to be some sort of payoff there. If you did do that moon landing, hey, we'll give you all the money and funding you need. Because his ideas were all outlandish and everything was ahead of the curve. Everything he did was ahead of the curve.
Yeah, brilliantly ahead of the curve, right?
Yeah, just super fascinating.
Yeah. There's one more point I was going to make. I just I can't remember it. Damn, more Kubrick. I can't. It's something about Kubrick. But anyway, dude. Wow, I could go on forever. There was one more point I had about Kubrick, but it's escaped me because there's too many in my noggin, I think.
Yeah,
But anyway.
Yeah, no, it's good. I don't know if there'll be another director like him. I don't know if you can.
No, there's one guy. There's some movies he was doing. What was his name? He's done 2 movies, and the twists in them were. He did. There was the group of 20 somethings. They go out to this cult in Dutch country kind of thing. Summer. What's it called? Midsommar.
Yes, with the girls on the cover. The girl.
Have you seen that?
Yes.
Okay, so that guy who did that movie, man, is brilliant. He's close to Kubrick. I don't know if he can be close, but he's in that vein where there's all
like
these
high art, high intellectual.
The trees are breathing in the background, but you don't really notice it at first. It's kind of like, whoa, I'm feeling the buzz. Like, yeah.
Right.
And there's another movie he did. He did. Pardon me.
Hereditary.
He did Hereditary.
Yes.
As well. Remember? Wow. Holy cow! Like when that girl's head she's hanging her head out the door, and that's a what the fuck moment to me, right? That's like,
yeah, for sure. It was like when I just saw Smile, that one scene where the girl's head like rotates upwards or downwards into the car window.
Craziness. Yeah, that's what I was getting. That's just unreal, man. Right on. All right, dude. Well, thanks for coming on the show, buddy. I think when you get time again, we should just do a dedicated Kubrick episode and just tear down The Shining.
I love it. Well, I'm around next Monday, so.
Perfect, man. I love it. All right, well, thanks for tuning in, my friend. Where can everybody find you? On the Crier Media here?
Yeah, Crier Media. I'm under. I host the Spirit Talk podcast. New episodes every Thursday. So be sure to check that out. It's all streaming, YouTube. Yeah, it's all good. Different background, different guests from martial arts to conservation to ufologists to outdoorsmen and women to authors to actors. A little hodgepodge, a little everything, a little different each week. But yeah,
Love it.
it's awesome.
All right, brilliant, my friend. Well, thanks for stopping by. And
Awesome.
then what? You're on the same time zone as me, right?
I'm East Coast.
You're East Coast.
Yeah, you are.
So yeah, 10. So you're 10. So okay, great. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening, my friend.
I will. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks, John. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye.
All right, man. I could talk forever about that kind of stuff. We went over time a little bit, but that's okay. Hope my mom and dad hung in through all that and can stay up late and watch. That's good. There's no hockey game on tonight, so you got no excuse. And again, thanks to John for being on the show. That was brilliant. I really loved. I love talking about Kubrick films and stuff. You know, there's so much. You know, a lot of filmmakers aren't just dudes who make films and get paid tons of money. Some of them back in the day were actually really, really smart. And the more they let these creative people who think outside of the box do what they want to do, the more you're going to see brilliance. And that's going to happen with anything in life, whether it's movies, whether it's business, whether it's the government, whether it's scientists. The smarter we get, the more intelligent we get, the further we're going to get. All right. So we didn't get to finish off our Walking Dead. We're going to do that next time. My producer, my wife, has picked out her favorite episode, one of her favorite episodes. I've picked out one of my favorite episodes. And we are going to pick up with that right off the bat next week, folks. So we'll continue our Walking Dead talk. Not sure where else we'll have something else very rad. All right. My name's Chris. This is live from Machete Comics. That was great. I'm still taking in everything there. I want to watch so much Kubrick stuff now. That's amazing. All right. Thanks again to my guest, John, for being on the show. Make sure you check out his stuff. Very intelligent guy. And that's what we want. More intelligence in the world, my friends. Peace, love, be excellent to each other. Party on, or do party on and be excellent to each other. My name's Chris Machete. Cheers, my friends.